I started making pieces to empower myself and for me to feel confident and for me to like break out of my shell. So I hope that that translates into, you know, the people and the clients that wear it, because the whole point is to make the person feel the absolute best. You know, when I dress Fergie or I dress Paloma or I dress whoever, I want her to feel powerful and strong and, you know, undeniable. The Serena corset started because I wanted to wear corsetry for myself. There wasn't anything in like online or in stores that I liked or enjoyed. And the closest thing that I could find was things in like costume or like charity shops. So I generally started by looking at 18th century corsetry because I was really fascinated by like Jack the Ripper at the time. And like I really loved Victorian wear. And this was all during lockdown. So it was during a period where, you know, I had recently come out or I was about to come out. You know, I felt personally really emotionally restricted, physically restricted due to lockdown. So in a weird way, I guess I was trying to be expressive in a way, but that still felt true to how I was feeling. And ironically, corsetry, obviously, it's physically quite a restrictive garment and it's a very politically loaded garment. So I guess I was drawing comparisons between, you know, these women weren't allowed to have bank accounts. They weren't allowed to vote. They weren't allowed to exercise. They weren't allowed to physically, you know, do a lot of things because of these garments. And in the same similar way, I felt really restricted, you know, emotionally, you know, sexually, you know, personally. And I guess that's where I made the link at the time.
So tell me about this whole experience of creating that look for Fergie.
Dream. Honestly, I'm still pinching myself. It's a bit crazy. To be honest, so her stylist is B. I think she also styles like Madonna and everybody else. Randomly, you know, she messaged me. Her assistant is actually a close friend of mine, Kat, and they were like, "We want a corset look. It's for Fergie. We can't tell you what it's for. We can't tell you when it's coming out, but we need it. We need it now." I was like, "Okay, fine, like whatever." And they gave me like a rough theme. They were like, you know, it's Union Jack themed, and we can't tell you what it's for. We can't tell you what she's doing in it. And I was like, is she performing in it? Like, is it just a stand and look pretty shoot? Because also that affects construction. They were like, she's wearing it, and that's all you need to know. It needs to give Union Jack, and that's all you need to know. We had recently done, or at least a couple of weeks before, we had done Remember Monday for Eurovision. And we did a bunch of Union Jack looks for them. They've clearly seen that, and that's why they've thought of me. But I wanted to do something that was still us and still made sense, but obviously completely different to what we had just done.
Okay.
So I sent over, I think it was like 3 or 4 sketches. And I was like, these are the 3 ideas I have. And like for most of them, it was entirely covered Union Jack looks. And I was like, this is my personal favorite, but you know, these are the options available. I think it took them like a day or 2 days. And then they were like, we like this one. And it was the one that I liked the most. And the reason for that was because it felt like the most playful. It felt like the most like raw and obviously had the Serena neckline. So for me, it was a huge win because I was like, brand codes. And I don't know, like we had, I think it was 3 days to make it or something like that. We made the corset. The point that took the longest was the flag itself because we had to physically make the flag. So we bought like meters and meters of like red, white, and blue organza, and we had to measure out and design each strip of the flag. Then we had to sew it all on, and we had to do it twice, once for the corset, once for the big skirt. The corset and the draping and all of that, you know, we're used to that when we're used to churning that out quickly. But the flag is something that we don't stereotypically do often. Like, no, it's not centered, or this doesn't make sense. So like that was just a ball ache. But we made the piece. It was, you know, I think it was 2 or 3 days. And then they were like, oh, you need to come to this hotel to fit it. And I was like, to fit it? What do you mean to fit it? Like, stereotypically, we make the piece, it goes in a box, like, bye. And they're like, no, because Fergie needs to try it on. And I was like, are we about to meet Fergie? Like, we got in a car, we got there, we walked in, and she's just stood there and she's like, hi. And I'm like, yeah, hi. I'm like, what the hell? But honestly, she was so lovely, like the nicest, sweetest, most wonderful human being. We tried it on her, we did a few little adjustments and a little pinch here, a little pinch there. And B posted a picture and some videos the other day of like us like sewing Fergie into it. But honestly, it was such a surreal experience, because doing stuff in the studio feels very like solitary and very like alone. And yes, we do things like, dress celebrities and red carpets, but that always happens like externally. So in a weird way, like you're living through your phone because you don't physically see the person wear it. So to see her in this piece that we had like thrown together in 2, 3 days and her practicing the choreography for the video. And they're like, yeah, by the way, it's for a remake of London Bridge. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, yeah, she's remaking the London Bridge music video. I was like, why? And they were like, oh yeah, like for like sub project thing. And I was like, for what? Like, why would she remake the video? They didn't tell me until the day after when she was filming it. Oh yeah, it's for Netflix. Last year we did the show in like an abandoned warehouse kind of setting. This year we essentially did it in like an abandoned hospital, basically. So we had set, we had, hospital blinds, we had like little trays. There's a really phenomenal artist. She made these like glass organs. I opened the collection with a gown essentially where she's covered from the nape of her neck all the way down in razor blades. The first look one was covered in 20,000 razor blades that we all had to hand sew onto this gown. So it's long sleeved, it's high necked, and it covers all the way down. And she has like a 2 meter train, 3 meter train. I started to make it, and a friend of mine who works in PR was like, this is a terrible idea. This is so controversial. A brand of your size won't be able to handle the backlash of this. Like, it's not going to end well for you. I really advise against it. So I went and I made two.
Did you cut yourselves a lot when you were sewing it?
Potentially.
Oh my gosh. I remember Paco Rabanne showing me at the backstage after shows all the corns and blisters he had.
Oh my God, yes. Price you pay for couture.
Yeah.
I always dressed myself, obviously, studying art was the first time I was surrounded by people that were like physically expressive. So, being on campus and people having like neon green hair or like piercings and covered in tattoos and all these things at the time to me was like, wow, like you have a tattoo, like, wow, like you shaved your head, like that's wow. So I was really like taking it all in because before that, everyone around me was, studying to be a radiographer or a surgeon or a mathematician. So everyone wore the same kind of uniform and was super restrictive and super serious. So I dressed quite extravagantly myself. I'd flip things inside out. I'd wear a t-shirt backwards or I'd cut something and tear into it. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I want to look as interesting as I can or like as, unique as possible. And a lot of the time on my like nights out or when I was in galleries and museums, people would assume I was a fashion student. And for the longest time, people were like, you go to CSM? Like, what year of fashion are you studying? Or like, are you women's or men's? And I'm like, what? And I'd always have that conversation of, oh no, like I study fine art at Westminster. Or like, oh no, like I do fine art. And I essentially spent 2, 3 years where I just kept telling people, oh no, I study fine art. I study fine art. So clearly it was something I was doing without realizing. And it wasn't until lockdown where I was like, okay, now I don't have the excuse of I don't have the time or I'm not able to. Let me teach myself something new. Like, let me try to really jump into this world that I've only like dabbled in. But even that, like, did sewing all throughout lockdown. Lockdown lifted. Then I stopped sewing, went back to work in retail and like just normal, regular life to make a living. Got an email invite for Vogue World. Went to it. I thought it was a scam. I was like, I'm definitely going to get killed. Went to it. Got there, met literally everyone, like Anna Wintour, Edward Enninful, like everyone, Naomi Campbell, Kate Moss, everyone. And then got invited to the after party. And then at the after party, met John Galliano. I was wearing the Serena corset, and the first thing he did was like stare at me. And he was like, this corset. And I was like, yeah, like it's mine. And I made it in lockdown and I bought a sewing machine from Argos. Like I'm teaching myself how to sew, but I don't know what to do because I stopped doing it and I'm not sure if I should do it. And he was like really staring at it and like really eyeing it up. And he was like, I love the raw edges and I love the detailing. And he was really complimentary about it. And he kind of ended the conversation. He was like, this is real fashion. You should do this. And then he like wandered off. And then after that, I just couldn't like for an entire week after that, I was like, oh my God, like I'm at work folding socks and t-shirts. And I'm like, I literally met John Galliano and he literally said I should be a fashion designer. Like, what am I gonna do? And I ended up just quitting my job. Like I just walked into the office. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I quit. Like I don't want to do this. And I had no savings. I had no training, no nothing. And for a good like week, 2 weeks, I was like, I've totally ruined my life. I've just quit a stable job. I have no money, no resources. And then I was like, well, we've done it. So we have to go all in. So the only way to be a fashion designer is if you have a collection, and your collection will only be respected if it's on the official schedule, is what I convinced myself of. So in January, got a studio, somehow got interns, made a collection in a month. February had the show. Been like this ever since because one thing leads to another, and then you don't have money for like 3 months, and then you get an order that makes up for it. Yeah.
It's incredible. What a story. Wow. I feel emotional actually.
And it's kind of like it's intense, like, and I said this before, like from an outside perspective, people who follow the Instagram or like see us online, it looks like we're this well-oiled, team of 10 fabulous, amazing machine. But like it's still very much just me, like I do social, I do PR, I do the meetings, I do, everything. I'm the creative director and the photographer and the stylist and casting and everything. So we can have moments like Fergie that are huge and phenomenal and obviously help us like massively as a brand. But then I might, God forbid, not get an order for the next 2, 3, 4 months, but I still have to pay rent. I still have to eat. I still have to survive. So I think that's probably why I was so mad, and that's why the collection was so aggressive. I was like, I'm literally fighting for my life here. And you're pitting me against these, Nepo baby designers.